Hey guys, and welcome to the October channel update. Most of this video I think is going to be answering some of the Q&A stuff from last time around, but before we get into that I do want to give you some updates on what's been going on and what's coming up in the near future. First up, if you missed them, both parts 1 and 2 of the Beast Machines retrospective are complete and are now up on the channel. You can check them out right up here in the corner if you haven't seen them yet. ReBoot Season 4 is the next video planned in that series, so you can look forward to that coming out in the next few weeks, probably early to mid-November. In other news, the Rocky movie retrospective counting down to Creed 2 in a few weeks has been continuing on as well. I've been having a ton of fun revisiting those movies. It's one of my favorite series, and you guys watching seem to be really enjoying them as well, so that's great. Part 3 just released, so I'll throw a link to that up in the corner if you want to check that out. I've been thinking of trying to do something similar for all of the Spider-Man movies leading up to Into the Spider-Verse in December. Let me know down in the comments if that's something that you'd be interested in watching. Of course, there's still weekly movie reviews for stuff in the theater coming out as well every week, so if you're interested, you can check that out right up in the corner as well. Now then, on to the Q&A. Where did you get the name Bull Session, and if you were to wind up in Beast Wars, would you be a Maximal or Predacon, and which animal would you pick for your Beast mode? Bull Session came about because the original idea for the channel, my friend and I, Party Elite, who I still review the movies with most of the time, the idea was it's going to be the two of us talking about movies back and forth, and the definition of a bull session is an informal conversation. So that very simply is where the name Bull Session came from. As for the second question, all of the Predacons were absolutely rock stupid on Beast Wars. Every single one of them. There's not one that I can remember off the top of my head who wasn't a nutcase. I guess Dinobot before he defected, but he wised up and defected. So I think I'd be a Maximal for sure. Plus I like mammals. I really love animals. Not so fond of bugs or I have nothing against reptiles, but I don't really like bugs. Yeah, so I think I'd be a Maximal for sure. Which animal? I don't know, maybe a big cat. I'd be another retool of Cheetor. Yeah, how about that? Let's go with that. I'd be easy to animate. You just take Cheetor's character model and change the type of cat. So let's say I'm a jaguar. I'd transform into a jaguar. What led you to start a media criticism channel, and if you're doing well-researched, well-sourced, long-form criticism, is it still a bull session? Well, thank you. I'm glad you think the videos are well-researched, but no, you're correct. It's not, at that point, a bull session anymore. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Instead of several people having an informal conversation, it is one person having a very scripted conversation with themselves. So, yes, you're correct, and yes, that did bother me at first. The first time I did it, I'm like, no, this isn't a bull session technically, but I got over that pretty quick, and that's just I find a catchy name, Bull Session. I've always liked that name, so yeah. Movies and television have always been a pretty big passion of mine. Entertainment media in general. I read a lot of books too. I used to play a lot of video games. I don't really find I have time anymore. The impetus to actually create the channel, it's always been something that I've kind of wanted to do. Angry Video Game Nerd was kind of the one that pioneered this whole online media criticism thing, James Rolfe. As far as what made me want to do it, what made you get into YouTube, and what content creators do you watch / get inspiration from? I think the first one I made, I was in high school, probably 2005, 2006. At one point I even tried to do a review of Bleach, the manga series, because it looked at the time like it was about to end, and then it turned out not to be ending. Creators that I'm inspired by, so many. Obviously from the kind of stuff that I do, a lot of these sort of media reviewers, obviously big ones like Red Letter Media, huge inspiration, but those are sort of more obvious ones. I followed a lot of the Channel Awesome producers back in the day. The only ones I really follow anymore are like Lindsay Ellis, Brad Jones, the Cinema Snob, and Phelan and Kara. But back in the day, I used to follow a lot more of those guys. My favorite was always Spoonie. I really wish that guy hadn't disappeared, because the content that he produced was, I would say, at the time, the best that anyone had ever done at that kind of thing. This like media critique internet show. I really love Little Karibo and Team 4-Star. I mean, I actually have my own abridged series here on this channel. Some of you might not know. Game of Thrones abridged. Let's see, who else? One content creator I always really liked, his name was Confused Matthew. He was one of the first that I ever saw on YouTube where his review of the thing was not just, here's a summary of the plot and some plot holes and why it's stupid. He would actually get into the themes and the characters and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense according to how these characters have been set up beforehand. And so that was the first time I'd ever seen that. Lots of different ones, a bunch that I'm forgetting too as well. Chocolate cake or vanilla cake? Okay, so if you had asked me that question at any point in my life prior to a year or two ago, I would have probably said chocolate cake. I've been feeling kind of burned out on chocolate lately. I find that whenever I try to eat like a piece of chocolate cake, it's just too rich for me. I can only have 2 bites and then I'm sick of it and I'm done. So probably vanilla. Love the Mainframe retrospective so far, but I gotta ask, how would you rank the shows and seasons of each Mainframe show you've seen thus far, from favorite to least favorite? Okay, that's a good question. So I guess what do we got? We got ReBoot season 1 to 3, Beast Wars seasons 1 to 3, Shadow Raiders seasons 1 and 2, and Beast Machine seasons 1 and 2. Favorite, definitely ReBoot season 3. That is easily the most tightly written season of television that I've reviewed so far on this channel. Following ReBoot season 3, probably Beast Wars season 2. Then after that, probably Shadow Raiders season 2, or that might even go above Beast Wars season 2, to be honest. I'm not sure. Though one of those two would be next after ReBoot season 3. Then probably ReBoot season 2, then Beast Wars season 3, then Shadow Raiders season 1, then ReBoot next, and then Beast Wars season 1, and then all of Beast Machines. Yeah, I'd have to put Beast Machines at the end. As much as I defended that show in my videos, it's very much a mixed bag for me still, so I think that one definitely has to go on the bottom, sorry. Which character do you love the most, and which character do you dislike the most? And then bonus, who do you most relate to? Okay, so favorite character and least favorite character. Least favorite character, I'd probably go with Beast Machine's Silverbolt, just because he's so cringy and all of his dialogue is so, like, edgy 13-year-old. It's just really hard to watch, especially because he was a really fun character on Beast Wars. As for favorite character, Enzo Matrix, easily the most developed character, for sure, out of any of these shows. And the most organically developed, too. I mean, sure, you've got a huge kind of shift in character from, like, Optimus Primal and Beast Wars to Beast Machines, but Enzo Matrix, his evolution feels organic, and that's so he's probably my favorite character from these shows so far. As to who I most relate to, maybe Rat Trap from Beast Wars. I'm a pretty sarcastic person in real life. That wouldn't come across in like a scripted video, but yeah, maybe Rat Trap. Do you live in the US or Canada? Did you ever own the Beast Wars toys during its original airtime? I live in Canada, hence all of the references to YTV and the fact that these shows are all from a Canadian animation studio. That's very much, you know, kind of rah-rah, go team. As for the second part of the question, did I own Beast Wars while the show was airing? Not really. I kind of got into this series right as it was ending, and so I caught a lot of the reruns on TV, but most of the toys were getting kind of hard to find by that point. It was mostly Beast Machines stuff that was on sale, but I did pick up a lot of them after the fact. You know, used ones. Are you a fan or have followed other Transformers content? Actually, most of the Transformers that I've owned in my life were from the Unicron trilogy, Armada, Energon, Cybertron. It was, at that point, after those were done, I kind of stopped. I know that this sounds melodramatic, but the movies, the Michael Bay movies, kind of completely killed my interest in the Transformers, which up until that point had been one of my favorite things ever. Like, I had all of the toys. And then after that first one, which was actually, you know, not terrible, the first movie's okay, they went downhill real fast. And then, you know, animated was coming. I don't remember what sequence of events all of this happened, but I didn't like the art in Transformers Animated, and obviously there was no word of mouth yet on the show, so I didn't watch that, and I didn't buy those toys. So yeah, my Transformers fandom kind of drifted off once those movies came out. But up until that point, yeah, I had tons of Transformers figures. Robots in Disguise, Beast Wars, Beast Machines, Armada, Energon, Cybertron. I had tons. Are you a fan of any anime or manga? What are some of your favorites? Yes, I am. I'm very, very much into anime and manga. Maybe not as much now as I was when I was, you know, like a teenager, late teens. But no, certainly I'm a pretty big fan of that stuff. I'm super, super into Dragon Ball. That one's been one of my favorites since I was a kid. Gundam, I really like all of that stuff. I'd actually really, really love to do a Gundam retrospective someday on this channel. That's a really big one, though. That, you know, we're talking about hours and hours of video there. You know what? In fact, hold on one second. Let me show you something. I've got tons and tons of Dragon Ball stuff here. Lots of action figures and manga and anime, DVDs, whole bunch of fun stuff like that. So yeah, I actually have I mean, I've seen bigger ones out there, obviously, but I've got quite an extensive Dragon Ball collection. That's probably my biggest single collection. Got some other stuff too, like Naruto I was pretty into back when I was a teenager. Not so much now. I haven't watched any of the Boruto stuff, but you know, that was one that I was really into. Yu-Gi-Oh, of course, was the best back in grade school and all that. Then of course Cardcaptor Sakura as well. You got to get the card battle going on. Inuyasha, love that. Death Note, great stuff. Then over here we've got some Gundam stuff. Those are all model kits. And then down here some DVDs or Blu-rays, and some more kits. Then there's, you know, some other stuff as well. Alphonse there is a little bit broken at the moment. I need to get around to fixing that. Some more models up here. Then over here, this is pretty cool. This is a really, really big model. It's called a perfect grade of one of the suits from Gundam. This is also really cool. This is actually an original animation cell from Dragon Ball that I picked up when I was over in Japan on vacation. So that's super, super cool. I made sure to hang that facing away from the outdoors so that it wouldn't get sun damaged. Yeah, over here, tons of old Marvel Legends I would have picked up back when I was a teenager. I've still hung on to a lot of them, though I had more when I was younger. Some Final Fantasy stuff too, I was pretty big into back in the day. And then, of course, Transformers. This is a mere fraction of the number of Transformers that I've owned over the years. I think I gave most of those away a few years ago, but I had pretty much everything from the Armada, Energon, Cybertron lines. Those were the big ones
when I was a kid. I had a lot of Beast Wars too, and Beast Machines, but I actually kind of missed the boat on a lot of that stuff, so a lot of that I had to pick up secondhand after the fact. Digimon was another one that I really loved, and Ultimate Muscle too was a great one back there. Kill la Kill, great anime. Pokemon as well. Just, you know, so
the short answer is yes. See, there was a part 2. Besides Beast Wars and ReBoot, what were your favorite shows on YTV? Just trying to think back which shows were on which network. I know the two main ones were YTV and Teletoon. Digimon, I know most of the anime I think was on YTV, if I'm remembering that correctly. I think Digimon, Pokemon were on YTV, Dragon Ball Z. Their Friday night anime block was actually really good. That was where I started watching Inuyasha. That was what got me into Gundam with Gundam Seed. As for like younger kids shows, yeah, I remember liking their after school block, and then after a while it just became nothing but SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents, and I think that's when I kind of stopped watching that. But yeah, no, there were a lot of great shows on YTV that I liked. Any shows from your childhood that you liked, but not a lot of people seem to remember? A lot of Canadian shows fell through the cracks. Yeah, I had a great time actually with Shadow Raiders for that reason, was because that was one that there was very little information out there to be found. A lot of people had kind of forgotten about that show, and I got a lot of comments from people saying, wow, you know, I didn't even remember what this was called, or I haven't thought about the show in years, you know. So I thought that was really cool. I'd love to do a lot more shows like that. Some shows I was kind of thinking about doing were Redwall. If anybody remembers that show, that was it was based on a Canadian book series. I actually don't even know, I haven't done any research or anything, but I don't know if that was even aired outside of Canada. But it was basically this show about these anthropomorphic mice in like a medieval setting. It was really cool. It was like maturely written, just really good TV for kids. So that's one I'd be interested in doing. There was another one called Cyber 6. That one maybe trended a little bit older, but that was a really short-lived series. I think it was only one season, but I think it's based on like a Brazilian comic book or something. Again, I haven't done any research, but from what I remember, it was that was a pretty dark one as well. It felt like an anime, even though I don't think it technically was. And then there were some comedy series as well that I remember being pretty good. There was a show called Undergrads. That show was really awesome, and Clone High, The Oblongs, a bunch of these really unique kind of early 2000s, maybe even late 90s, I can't remember for sure. I haven't done any research, and so I remember liking all of those shows. That's all stuff that I'd love to talk about on this channel at some point, just because it's something that not a lot of people have done from what I've seen, and just, you know, covering ground that you don't see covered as much on YouTube. What's your favorite game / parody from ReBoot? All the ones from Season 3 were fantastic. The Evil Dead one from Season 3 Episode 1 was really great. That one's probably my favorite, to be honest. Either that or the Looney Tunes parody. I think it's the next episode, but it could be 2 episodes later, with the raccoon character, Rocky Raccoon. But also Bad Bob was great as well. A lot of those games were awesome. I think in Season 4 there's like an Austin Powers one and a Pokemon one. Those were all really great. The games, I think in general, were one of the really great aspects of ReBoot. There were a lot of really strong episodes centered around games. Any animated prequel or sequel of Beast Wars other than Theft of the Golden Disc? I mean, there's Beast Machines, obviously. Beast Wars 2, Beast Wars Neo, although from what I understand, those are not very closely related to Beast Wars. I know Optimus Primal shows up in like the movie. I do remember the Theft of the Golden Disc. That was like a BotCon thing, right? I've seen that. That was cool. It was neat that they got David Kaye back for that. As for anything else, not that I'm aware of. No. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there's probably some more fan projects out there, but other than that, no, I don't think so. Favorite episode of ReBoot and/or Beast Wars, and why? Beast Wars, I'd have to go Code of Hero. I know that's That's probably a cliche answer, but yeah, Code of Hero is the best episode of that show easily. Transmutate is also really good. For ReBoot, I always loved that episode with the Power Rangers parody, the big robot that they fight Nullzilla, because I remember even when I was a kid, I understood that this was a parody of Power Rangers, and that, I mean, I must have been like 5 years old. The concept of satire would have been something brand new to me at the time. I've always really loved that one. Have you ever played the ReBoot game, I think, for the original PlayStation? Apparently the cutscenes constitute an actual pilot for the series. I have not played it. I've heard interesting things about it. I'd be interested in playing it at some point, maybe as like a Let's Play or something. Not anytime soon. I don't know. I'll probably give it a quick mention in the ReBoot Season 4 video, along with all the other stuff like the rides and whatnot. But from what I've heard, it's kind of interesting because it's sort of like an episode of ReBoot that was not censored by ABC because it wasn't airing on television. It was a video game, and so it gets a little bit darker with some of the themes, and I think Bob and Dot kiss or something. I haven't seen the cutscenes or played the game. This is just going off of what I remember from the ReBoot wiki, researching for my other videos. No, I haven't played it. I'd be interested in doing that at some point, though, maybe. Okay, ReBoot Season 5 miraculously gets greenlit. If you could have it your way, what would be the basic plot of Episode 1? That is a fantastic question that I don't think I'm going to talk about in this video, because I would love to do a video devoted to that after I'm done with Season 4. I've thought about that for years, obviously, like I'd say probably many people have, and it's not such an easy answer. I feel like a lot of people would just say, just do the next episode, just pick up right where that cliffhanger left off. Obviously, that's not feasible for a number of reasons. First of all, you need to market the show to kids. Most kids are not going to have any idea what the original ReBoot was or any of that. Like I said, it's more or less surviving on its now adult fans. Not to mention, obviously, of course, unfortunately, Tony Jay, the voice actor from Megabyte, is no longer alive. They'd have to get a creative solution. So yeah, I'd love to do a video on that later, but not right now, sorry. Did you watch the Starship Troopers cartoon, Roughnecks? If so, what did you think? I sort of watched it. I had a friend in grade school who really liked that show, and I watched a couple of episodes with him, but I never really sought it out on my own when I was a kid. When I was a little bit older, I saw the Starship Troopers movie, and I loved that, and then I really wished that I had seen the TV show when it was on, when I'd had the chance. But yeah, I remember it being pretty good, and from what I understand, it's still got a huge following, and I've heard great things about it, so it's definitely one that I'd be interested in talking about at some point down the line. So yes, the answer is kind of. I've seen a few episodes. I liked it. Have you seen the Bionicle movies? No, I have not seen the Bionicle movies. I was a fan of those toys when they were coming out, because I just always really liked Lego, and that was kind of a new interesting direction for Lego. But I never watched any of the movies because they didn't look anything like the Lego figures. I'd maybe take a look at that at some point down the line. But no, I've never seen them, no. How much does it hurt every time you use that time for the hunt clip? It doesn't hurt so much as it's just like, I'm gonna keep putting it there because it keeps being relevant. I think the hurt kind of stopped a long time ago. Now it's just sort of a sad kind of head shake, you know, if you know what I mean. I know it's not really a serious question, but that's the answer. Okay, I hope y'all liked watching that Q&A video. I know I had a lot of fun making it. My cat is poking in and out of frame right now. Okay, you're in or out, buddy. This is Ichigo. Thanks again for watching. All of you, once again, dude, you can knock the camera over. Thank you guys for watching. You can check out, I've got some videos here on the screen you can watch if you want to do that. Thanks very much once again for watching, and take care. Dude, you're gonna knock the thing